sex life. Sex lasts a little longer every time. Sex is amazing.
Several hours of sex.
I need to have sex for hours to have an orgasm. My sex life is wonderful. I need to have several hours of sex before I ejaculate. Sex is beautiful. You have great sexual stamina. During sex, you are in full control of your sexual arousal. You are a great lover. Sex is beautiful. Every time I have sex, I last a little longer. During sex, I am patient. I last longer and longer in bed. You always satisfy your partner's physical needs. You enjoy having sex for hours. During sex, I am in full control of my sexual arousal. You are the best lover for your partner. You need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation. You have the self-control of a skilled lover. You need to have several hours of sex until you can ejaculate. You have sex is easy. You and your partner always have amazing sex. I need to have sex for hours before I can ejaculate. Sex is natural. It is possible. I need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation. Your wishes come true. You are in pristine health. You make your partner orgasm several times before you have an orgasm yourself. You need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. Sex is easy. During sex I am balanced. I love my body. You need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation. You have a great sex life. Sex is amazing. You are naturally sexually confident. I have sex for hours before I have an orgasm. You last longer and longer in bed. I always last a long time when I have sex. You need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation. I am naturally sexually confident. You are fully confident about your sexual skills. During sex, I take my time to enjoy. Sex is beautiful. I last longer and longer in bed. I am fully confident about my sexual skills. I can please my lover for hours and hours. I have several hours of sex before I have an orgasm. I am naturally sexually confident. Sex is natural. During sex, I take my time to enjoy. You need to have sex for hours before you ejaculate. Sex is sex. Take my time. You are in pristine health. I last longer and longer in bed. I always satisfy my partner's physical needs. You need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. You need to have several hours of sex to ejaculate. Sex is beautiful. You last longer and longer when you have sex. You always take your time to enjoy sex. Sex is amazing. Sex lasts a little longer every time. My sex life is wonderful. I always take my time to enjoy sex. You can please your lover for hours and hours. Sex lasts a little longer every time. I can achieve anything. I need to have several hours of sex until I can ejaculate. For you, your sexuality is something completely natural. During sex, you are in full control of your body. I have several hours of sex before I have an orgasm. I am a great lover. It is possible. I need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. During sex, you take your time to enjoy. Sex is easy. I am in pristine health. During sex, I am in full control of myself. During sex, I am balanced. I have several hours of sex before I have an orgasm. You enjoy having sex for hours. During sex, I am in full control of my body. You need to have sex for hours before you ejaculate. During sex, you are in full control of your sexual arousal. You are fully confident about your sexual skills. I am the best lover for my partner. I last longer and longer in bed. You have great sexual stamina. For me, my sexuality is something completely natural. To the word sex, I connect good feelings only. During sex, you are in full control of your body. Every time you have sex, you last a little longer. I can always fulfill the sexual needs of my partner. It is possible. Your wishes come true. I need to have several hours of sex to have an orgasm. You need to have sex for hours before you ejaculate. I excite my lover every day. You always last a sex for hours to have an ejaculation. I am willing to change to ejaculate. You can achieve anything. I always last a long time when I have sex. I need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. I have sex for hours before I have an orgasm. Your dreams are possible. You are in pristine health. During sex, you are in full control of yourself. You need to have several hours of sex until you can ejaculate. You have a great sex and I always have amazing sex. You have a great sex life. During sex you are balanced. You are willing to change. I last longer and longer when I have sex. You have a great sex life. I am fully confident about my sexual skills. You always last a long time in bed. During sex, you are in full control of yourself. You are naturally sexually confident. You need to have several hours of sex before you ejaculate. I have sex for hours before I have an orgasm. I always take my time to enjoy sex. You make your partner orgasm several times before you have an orgasm yourself. During sex, I am in full control of my body. You always satisfy your partner's physical needs. You have several hours of sex before you have an orgasm. For you, your sexuality is something completely natural. I am a great lover. During sex, you are in full control of your sexual arousal. I have a great sex life. You need to have sex for hours before you ejaculate. You make your partner orgasm several times before you have an orgasm yourself. I last longer and longer in bed. During sex you are balanced. You are willing to change. Sex, you connect good feelings only. During sex, you are in full control of your body. Your sex life is wonderful. You need to have several hours of sex until you can ejaculate. You need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. I need to have several hours of sex to have an orgasm. I excite my lover every day. You last longer and longer when you have sex. You are the best lover for your partner when you have sex. I need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. You need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. During sex, I am in full control of my sexual arousal. I have a great sex life. You are naturally sexually confident. During sex, you need to have several hours of sex until you can ejaculate. I am the best lover for my partner. I always last a long time in bed. You are the best lover for your partner. I last longer and longer in bed. I have the self-control of a skilled lover. Your sex life is amazing. During sex, I connect good feelings only. You have sex for hours before you have an orgasm. I need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. I always last a long time in bed. You always last a long time when you have sex. I have the self-control of a skilled lover. You need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation. You always last a long time in bed. I am fully confident about my sexual skills. During sex, I am in full control of my sexual arousal over your body. You have great sexual stamina. For me, my sexuality is something completely natural. You have a great sex life. During sex, I am patient. You need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation. Your wishes come true. You have the self-control of a skilled lover. My sex life is amazing. You always last a long time when you have sex. You are the best lover for your partner. I have a great sex life. I always last a long time when I have sex. Sex is simple. My dreams are possible. Your sex life is amazing. During sex, I am in full control of my sexual arousal. Sex is beautiful. Sex is natural. I last longer and longer when I have sex. For me, my sexuality is something completely natural. You need to have sex for hours before you can ejaculate. You enjoy having sex for hours. During sex, you are patient. I have a great sex life. During sex, You are the best lover for your partner.
You always
I
last
last longer and longer when I have sex. I need to have sex for hours before I can ejaculate. You need to have sex for hours to have an ejaculation.
Take your time.
You love your body.
I am fully confident.
My sex life is wonderful.
You can achieve.
I need to have sex for hours before I can ejaculate.
When you have
You make your partner orgasm several times before you have an orgasm yourself.
You need to have
During sex you are patient. I enjoy having sex for hours. I have great sexual stamina. I need to have several hours of sex to ejaculate. It is possible. I can achieve anything. Your sex life is wonderful. During sex I am relaxed. You need to have several hours of sex before you ejaculate. I have a great sex life. During sex, I have complete control over my body. I need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. I am fully confident about my sexual skills. You always meet your partner's sexual needs. For you, your sexuality is something completely natural. You have sex for hours before you have an orgasm. Every time I have sex, I last a little longer. You need to have several hours of sex to have an orgasm. You need to have several hours of sex until you can ejaculate. It is easy for you to control your sexual arousal. Sex is simple. I need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. You need to have sex for hours before you ejaculate. My wishes come true. I always last a long time in bed. I have sex for hours before I have an orgasm. I enjoy having sex for hours. Sex is natural. You have a great sex life. I need to have sex for hours before I ejaculate. You can please your lover for hours and hours. During sex, you are in full control of your sexual arousal. You are willing to change. You need to have several hours of sex before you ejaculate. Sex is easy. You are willing to change. Your dreams are possible.
Always meet my partner's
I need to
sexual
have
needs.
several hours of sex to ejaculate. Sex is natural. You can achieve anything. You have several hours of sex before you have an orgasm. Sex is simple. You need to have sex for hours before you can ejaculate. During sex, you are in full control of your sexual arousal. I need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. It is possible. I have great sexual stamina. I make my partner orgasm several times before I have an orgasm myself. I love my body. Every time you have sex, you last a little longer. I last longer and longer in bed. You have the self-control of a skilled lover. I last longer and longer when I have sex. I last longer and longer in bed. You can achieve anything. Through our sex, I connect good feelings only. My wishes come true. During sex, you are in full control of yourself. Sex is amazing. I am fully confident about my sexual skills. You last longer and longer in bed. During sex, you are patient. I am fully confident about my sexual skills. I have a great sex life. You are willing to change. I always meet my partner's sexual needs. I last longer and longer in bed. During sex I am balanced. It is possible. During sex you have complete control over your body. You have a great sex life. I need to have several hours of sex to ejaculate. Sex is amazing. I always meet my partner's sexual needs. You always satisfy your partner's physical needs. I need to have several hours of sex to ejaculate. I have the self-control of a skilled lover. I have several hours of sex before I have an orgasm. You need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. During sex I am relaxed. You need to have several hours of sex to ejaculate. I always last a long time when I have sex. During sex I am in full control of my body. Every time I have sex, I last a little longer. My partner and I always have amazing sex. I have a great sex life. I need to have several hours of sex to have an orgasm. Sex is easy. I I enjoy having sex for hours. Your sex life is wonderful. You need to have sex lasts a little longer every time.
I can achieve anything.
You need to have several hours of sex before you ejaculate. During sex, I am in full control of my body. I last longer and longer when I have
My
sex.
sex life is amazing.
During sex, you have complete control over your body. During sex, you take your time to enjoy. You have great sexual stamina. You are naturally sexually confident.
During sex, you are
I can
relaxed.
always fulfill the sexual needs of my partner. Sex is simple. I am naturally sexually confident. You have the self-control of a skilled lover. I have the self-control of a skilled lover. Every time you have sex, you last a little longer. I have a great sex life. Your sex life is wonderful. I need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. I have a great sex life. You can always fulfill the sexual needs of your partner. I can please my lover for hours and hours. I need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. I can achieve anything. My sex is amazing. I need to have sex for hours to ejaculate. I am the best lover for my partner. It is easy for you to control your sexual arousal. You enjoy having sex for hours. You need to have several hours of sex until you can ejaculate. My dreams are possible. For you, your sexuality is something completely natural. Sex is beautiful. It is possible. During sex, you take your time to enjoy. Sex is amazing. Sex is natural. Sex is simple. You are in Christian health. I need to have several hours of sex to have an orgasm. You have sex for hours before you have an orgasm. You have several hours of sex before you have an orgasm. My sex life is amazing. I need to have several hours of sex to have an ejaculation. I need to have sex for hours before I can ejaculate. I enjoy having sex for hours. During sex you are relaxed. You excite your lover every day. During sex you are relaxed. You need to have sex for hours before you can ejaculate. You need to have several hours of sex before you ejaculate. You enjoy having sex for hours. It is easy for me to control my sexual arousal. Sex is simple. You are in pristine health. You make your partner orgasm several times before you have an orgasm yourself. I can please my lover for hours and hours. My sex life is amazing. During sex, you are in full control of your body. During sex, I have complete control over my body. During sex, I connect good feelings only. It is possible. I always satisfy my partner's physical needs. Sex is easy. I last longer and longer in bed. I can always fulfill the sexual needs of my partner. I enjoy having sex for hours. You need to have several hours of sex to ejaculate. I need to have sex for hours before I ejaculate. I am a great lover. During sex, I am in full control of myself. My dreams are possible. You need to have sex for hours before you can ejaculate. Your wishes come true. You have the self-control of a skilled lover. I make my partner orgasm several times before I have an orgasm myself. Sex is amazing. During sex I am relaxed. Your dreams are possible. I am fully confident about my sexual skills.